Well, joining us on the Coach's Corner is head volleyball coach Kyla King. Kyla, welcome to the Coach's Corner.
Hello, hello, hello.
It's good to see you again. So you're heading into your third year, right, Kyla?
Yes, sir.
And you kind of inherited a program like a lot of times that was a little bit in flux. So you brought some stability to it. And really this last year, I feel like we saw sort of a little bit of a jump really with the team. Talk about your excitement as we get ready to return to Bob Johnson Court and start competition this fall.
I feel like if I had to rate myself on excitability, it would probably be like 11 out of 10. We were young last year, but the kids on that court, their enthusiasm, their desire to improve. I mean, like if I get a tenth of that, and I already know I'm going to get 100% of it this upcoming season, it just makes me ready to get on the court. And the kids that we're bringing in are just great kids. So I'm amped to say the least.
Yeah, I was really surprised, Kylie, when I was looking over the roster. I was like, I knew we were young, but I was shocked how young we were. And then I started looking, I was like, a lot of those underclassmen played some really, really big minutes. So that has to be encouraging to understand that we always know around that second year, they make this big jump. So that has to be exciting to think about where they're going to be as we kind of progress through this season.
Oh, absolutely. Like the way I talked to my freshmen that were on the court last year was some of you guys are 9 weeks out of high school and you're playing 21-year-olds and you're hanging with them. So, I mean, I think that speaks volumes to my freshmen. And then my sophomores had a very heavy weight on their shoulders to provide stability, which most kids don't have to face until probably their junior or senior year. So when I saw that, knowing we were young and there's some games that we played really tight, I was like, oh, if we just had one more year. I mean, it speaks loads to these student athletes.
Well, I know one thing that you're really big on, like a lot of coaches, is culture. I can think about those retreats that you do preseason where you're trying to help that bonding of the team. I'm wondering, what is sort of the identity for Emory Henry Volleyball that you're hoping to craft?
When I took it over and when I was talking with our upperclassmen, I kind of realized that we didn't have like our own set of core values. So my second year, I decided it wasn't my job to identify our core values as our athletes. So during our team retreat, we really sat together and went through some heavy moments and talking and going through words that we described. And our program came up with PAL, which is persistence, achievement, and loyalty. And I feel like with that identity, and we keep pushing that with what we're doing, it kind of is shaping what our culture is slowly becoming. Perseverance on the court. We're young. We're having to fight through. Achievement academically, our GPA has gone from roughly like a 2.5 almost to a 3.3. I mean, that is achievement. And the loyalty is the biggest thing that we've been working on, because if you're loyal to your team when you're down, think about how loyal it's going to be when you're up. So that PAL has really been a driving force with us. And it was never me picking the words. It was our girls that have done it. I mean, I could never pick 3 better words, or I guess adjectives, to describe this program.
I, I always say that we can't let the kids understand that they have the real power sometimes, but that's a great example of how they have to kind of help create that culture, because they're the ones that have to exist inside of it. So I love that idea and that concept. I also want to talk to you about something I think that you're really creative with. And, I got done recently talking to Macaulay, our women's soccer coach. And last year, you led this really cool renovation of the locker room. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about, seeing this opportunity, why it was so important to do, and sort of the reaction of the girls once they saw their new, beautiful home.
Our previous locker room was very historic. I would like to say primitive. And, when talking to our commits, I was like, what is one of the things that you're kind of like, when you visited? And a lot of them were like the locker room. We like the size of it, but, it seemed outdated. So I had a conversation with our athletes and I said, if we're going to collect money and we're going to do this fundraiser, where do you want to go with it? And everyone was like, locker room and uniforms. I was like, well, you just got new uniforms, so let's hold off on that one. And so I had a vision that we would have a locker room that was somewhere you'd be comfortable to sit, hang around with each other, and have basically our identity within it. So when you enter our locker room and you look to the left, we have old jerseys going down the side of it. And I felt that was important because in order to know where your program's going, you got to remember where it came from. And so that was kind of my mentality. And it's bright yellow. And I just think that when you come in there, it's just an exciting kind of feeling. But when the girls walked in, because I didn't let them see anything, like I didn't let them know the locker code. I didn't give them any updates or any sneak peeks. I was like, this is confidential. All of them just came in and just like, wow, Oh my gosh. And that's the experience I want them to have. And they're so proud of it. Like when we have recruits come on campus, the girls are like, hey, come look at our locker room. They'll take them in there, shut off. And so it's really become something that we have prized. And I think there's so much enjoyment in it is because the girls are part of that process because they approached people about donations. So they were invested in it. It wasn't just a gift, but they had to work for it. And so we really love our locker room.
Well, I had to help work with you all to get those off the truck, if I recall right when we got in there. But I can't complain to you because you were in there just as much, just slinging lockers around and getting those things off there. So, but I'll remember that. And my back still remembers that. So
that was a hot day and a long day.
Well, I also love your creativity, and I think that we share a little bit of an inner love of watching our student athletes either dress up in funny ways or do something that makes us laugh. I've seen some videos that we've done. You and I've partnered with some promos for some nights of things like the Throwback Night. So I want to ask you specifically about Throwback Night, and I'm going to be honest with you. The uniforms that you used were a little too close to the time when I was in school and when you were in school. So tell me a little bit about Retro Night, the Throwback Night, and how the team embraced that, because polyester is not the most fashionable thing to go with, but it seems like the way we went.
Well, I'll try to leave any hints that age us on the Throwback Night. So what's funny is I was cleaning out the lockers and our storage closet, and I found this box of uniforms. I opened it up, and it was kind of like a treasure chest. Like a light goes up, and I see these beautiful collared jerseys, not in our school colors, and I was like, this is a moment we need to grab. And so I told the girls, like, hey, we're going to do something special this year that's different from Dick Pink. And they're like, what? I'm like, we'll get there. And I had 4 girls volunteer. I was like, you're sworn to silence. You can't tell anybody. And so the pictures that you did were phenomenal. And the girls bought in. We're talking side ponies, knee-high socks, scrunchies. And it was just a really fun way to kind of, like I said, remembering our history to show where we're going. And we're doing it again this year. I'm not going to say against who yet, but the girls are already ready for it. It's just one of those really cool things just to have with our program to make it more of a tradition for us.
Yeah, I don't like being able to have to look back in my yearbook to be able to see uniforms that we're using in Throwback Nights. That's fantastic. I also want to talk about, you mentioned Dick Pink a second ago, and I thought one of the other really creative things that you came up with was the battle for the Brawl, which is part of in its inaugural year, my fraternity won. And I remember the guys looking at me and saying, Trish, what am I supposed to do with this? I'm like, well, obviously we hang it with pride and don't lose it. That was the other key thing I told them. So it's such a big component of the Dick Pink fundraiser and so forth. Talk about why that's so important to you all.
Dick Pink is huge for volleyball in general because it goes towards breast cancer awareness. And I am overly competitive. And after our first year, I was not happy with the amount of funds that we raised. I'll never be happy. And so I was sitting in my office and I was like, we've got to find a way. And then I had watched an episode of reality TV trash in which these guys were wearing bras and collecting money. And I was like, that's not a bad idea, but let's hold off. And I kept thinking about how can I make a battle and how can I get more students involved? And I thought, our Greek life is integral at Emory and Henry. I have plenty of athletes now on my team who are Greek. I was like, well, let's kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Let's bring Greek life into athletics. Let's work towards making more money towards Dick Pink, and let's have a competition. And so the result was a 3-foot by 2-foot wood bra that is pink, pink, and pink. And so the exciting thing is that what we want to do is every year we want to have that battle. We're going to have plaques on it that says every year which fraternity, or it could be a student organization if they want to get involved. And it gets passed to side to side. So when Greek life has their Meet the Greeks, your fraternity and the sorority that wins it gets to put it on their table and say, hey, we raised the most money. That's why you should come to us. So it's just one of those, another tradition that I want to instill in our program that maybe, in 10 years, we'll have to have another giant bra made because we've continued this and we're raising thousands. I mean, we were $10 short. No, about $10 short of $1,000, which was way more than we've raised in quite a while. So.
Well, you guys do it really well, and I love the creativity, and I think the students that are coming to games learn to get behind that. So I'm glad to hear that we're going to continue doing that because the first year it was successful, but I think in subsequent years we're just going to see lots of more people buying in, especially as our Greeks are kind of doubling down on the importance of service in their organizations. So I think that we'll see some great success. So I'm going to get you out on this. I know that social media is something that we talk about. And I always want to applaud those folks that do it in a really fun way. And I think volleyball does it in a super fun way. And this past April, you did a campaign called Meet Me at the Net. So I thought it would be fun in honor of that to ask you some of the questions that you asked the girls.
Oh, no. Okay.
That's the way we're going to go. So first question, and we'll do the kind of the Twitter sized answers here. So what made you come to Emory and Henry and coach?
The environment and the people, hands down. It's what drove me from Nashville to here. You can't repeat it.
Final meal at Emory and Henry would be?
Asian bowl, no rice, double chicken, all vegetables, teriyaki, extra yum yum.
This is the new healthy side of Kyla that I saw last year that's being really successful in her health. That sounds super healthy, but the yum yum sauce adds a little good flavor there. That's a good call. I like this question that you asked. So what was the total freshman thing that you did your first year of coaching?
Oh, I messed up on a lineup. I substituted 2 positions in the wrong order, and I had 6 eyes go. And I was like, it's okay. It's okay. And my brain's going, it's not okay. But we still came out. We did fine. But I was like, never again.
And finally, what is something that you love that probably no one else does?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm trying to think of weird things that I like doing. I really like antiquing, and I think that's kind of weird for my age, and I've been doing it since I was about 16. Like, if you go through my house, there's nothing younger than probably 1940, including my dishes. So that's probably it.
That's a good answer. It also can be an expensive hobby, so be careful with that. I'm sure Anthony is learning that pretty quickly. So, Kyla, thanks so much. This was a lot of fun. So I appreciate you joining us on the Coach's Corner.
Thanks so much, Brent.